Today we have a very special topic. I want to take a closer look at Ferrari's mysterious prototype that was running in December 2013 in Fiorano for the first time. Back in the day, Ferrari did not want to comment on what they are doing with this prototype, and its real purpose stayed a secret until today. But now, 9 years later, and for the 50th anniversary of Ferrari's Fiorano test track, they are displaying this very prototype in their museum in Maranello. I was there and took a detailed look at the prototype, so today we want to shed some light on what was really going on here. So first let's talk about the background and the year 2013. 2013 was the last year of the F1 Championship with naturally aspirated V8 engines, and teams were already working on the new 1.6-liter V6 hybrid engines for 2014. Also in 2013, the LaFerrari was introduced, Ferrari's first top model with a hybrid drivetrain. Already in 2012, we could see a lot of pictures and videos of the LaFerrari prototypes, and also the LaFerrari's monocoque was presented. These prototypes were first based on the short 458, and later on they already had the LaFerrari underneath, so these were longer prototypes. We remember this because that's going to be important later. Also in 2013, Ferrari boss Luca di Montezemolo talked about a possible Ferrari entry in the WEC Championship and 24 Hours of Le Mans, which he opened as honorary guest in 2009. Ferrari always used a possible WEC entry to create some pressure in ongoing F1 negotiations. So at the end of 2013, the team ran their new 1.6-liter V6 turbo engines and the new hybrid systems on their dynos. Real car testing wasn't allowed, and F1 tests were only possible during the official pre-season testing. But if you design a completely new engine generation, it's vital to get as many test kilometers as possible. And, very important, test the engine in a real car under real conditions, including G-force and realistic cooling flow. Something you cannot do on a dyno. So that was the background in 2013, and now let's allow the prototype to speak to us. If we have a first look around, we can see that the monocoque comes from the LaFerrari, the latest and strongest monocoque Ferrari had at that time. We can see the round windscreen frame, the deep door cutouts and the fuel flap behind the driver. We can also see that they used the same LaFerrari door with 458 mirrors, like the LaFerrari prototypes. So, if they used the LaFerrari monocoque, the front axle position relative to the door is fixed, because the front axle is part of the monocoque. So let's compare the three cars with each other. The 2012 LaFerrari prototype, the 2013 LaFerrari himself, and the 2013 mysterious prototype. We can see that the distance between front axle, windscreen edge, and door corner are the same for all three of them, which confirms the suggestion that they used the LaFerrari monocoque, and Ferrari also confirmed that in the museum. At the front, we can see that the LaFerrari prototype and the LaFerrari have the same overhang, which is no surprise. But the secret prototype has a shorter, redesigned nose. And although the headlights look very similar, if we look closely we can see that they are not from the LaFerrari 458 or F12, so the cars that Ferrari sold at that time, they're actually from the FF. They have the same distinct shape and headlight washers. So it's a completely redesigned front for this purpose, and it's also much wider. The side windows consist of two different windows and are separated with this stripe. It looks like the forward section is glass, the rearward section is macrolon, so they can cut this opening inside. But the biggest difference is at the back when we look at the rear axle position. It matches for the first two, but at the mysterious prototype, the rear axle is around half a wheel diameter further back compared to the other two. So there must be a much longer drivetrain underneath. We then note that there is a huge roof scoop on top, and it guides the air downwards to an area with two fixed air scoops for a basic airflow and with two large fans. If we look at the blades of the fans, we see that they blow the air underneath the cover, so they could increase the airflow which the two scoops are providing. A little further back, we see two smaller fans which also blow air underneath. At the first appearance, the prototype didn't have a rear wing. At later tests, this massive two-element wing was mounted. It has quite a big slot gap and is optimized end plates. which are bent outside for less separation under yaw and with a thicker leading edge for less yaw sensitivity. The cooling happens through the normal LaFerrari intakes, but the outlets guide the flow to the top. This completely separates the cooling flow from the rest of the car. And the cooling only happens in the side pods, and a smaller amount in the center with the fans. Furthermore, we see 4 fake exhaust pipes, and the prototype had one high-sitting center exhaust. So what does this prototype tell us? Let's listen to this first. So the mysterious prototype sounds a lot more like the turbocharged F1 car than the 6.3-liter V12 of the LaFerrari. So according to what we've seen so far, what did really happen here? First of all, in 2013 Ferrari had some late prototypes of the LaFerrari standing around, because the LaFerrari was released in 2013. At the same time, they needed as many test kilometers on their new F1 engine as possible, to have an advantage over the F1 competition. And since they have their own Fiorano track close to the factory, there was an opportunity to get some more mileage on the drivetrain in race conditions, so in a car with G-forces and vibrations and so on. It looks like they mounted the F1 engine with its 6 regulated mounting points to the LaFerrari chassis. Although the V6 is shorter than the much bigger V12, the turbocharger is sitting behind the engine in the bell housing of the gearbox. After that comes the gearbox, then the differential. At the LaFerrari, that's the other way around, with the diff first and then the gearbox. So that would explain the longer wheelbase. They put the battery on the passenger side, and we can see high voltage stickers at the prototype. They then packaged the cooling like at the F1 car. That means the cooling happens in the side pods. One special feature of Ferrari's 2014 F1 engine was the indirect intercooling system, so they used a water-to-air heat exchanger as intercooler. That requires another low-temperature water radiator in the side pods, and that is the reason we don't see an intercooler in the side pods, although we can hear it's a turbocharged engine. So that's another fact that hints to their F1 engine. The cooling is completely separated in the sides with huge outlets at the top. So the airflow in the engine bay is not disturbed, and they can experiment with that. They have some scoops to get a basic airflow, but they can control fans in the cover to increase the flow in the hot turbocharger area. Like we said, the turbocharger sits behind the engine, and this is where we find the large fans. The smaller fans could be for wastegate cooling. The F1 cars had separate small cooling ducts for this later on. So with these fans, Ferrari could test how much airflow they would need for these systems. And the cooling path for the engine could only exit at the back, just like at the F1 car. And we can see thermo stickers here to see how hot it gets. So that was the basic layout of the prototype. The next priority seems to have been to reduce the lap time around Fiorano as much as possible. So the prototype could run multiple laps at high speed to simulate a realistic scenario for this drivetrain. Therefore, they made the car wider for less weight transfer in a corner. They changed to possible 18-inch rims with raised tires for more grip, and they changed the aerodynamics significantly. Because there's no cooling anymore at the front, unlike the LaFerrari, they redesigned the whole front, made it shorter, and created a huge slope to guide the air upwards for a lot of downforce. If air goes up, car goes down. The only intakes they kept at the front are the brake ducts. The car is much faster than the original LaFerrari, and it looks like it uses the same brake dimensions, so brake cooling was important here. We see the same at the rear axle with special brake cooling ducts at the sides. These are NECA ducts with additional scoops for even more cooling. Furthermore, they added a massive splitter at the front and double flicks at the side to increase front downforce. It's likely the car has a closed underbody, and we can see two massive diffuser tunnels at the back. It looks like after Ferrari did the first rollout tests without wing, they added the massive rear wing for the performance runs. The wing needs to be aggressive to counteract the front downforce for an even downforce distribution. It also needs to sit higher to not catch the hot low-energy air of the side pods. That increases drag, but an F1 engine is designed to operate in a high-drag car, so that only makes the conditions more realistic for the drivetrain. After this prototype was running in December 2013 and January 2014, it disappeared and got stored away by Ferrari. Spy pictures and videos appeared, but Ferrari declared that they were working on innovative technology to benefit their operations. And of course, they said they might be interested in Le Mans. So they did get away with this, although car tests with this engine were not allowed at this time. And it's another one of these Ferrari stories because they have everything in-house. They can build whatever they want and test drive it on their own track. Ferrari sold the prototype to a loyal and fortunate client, as they put it, and today you can see it in their museum in Maranello. They covered the central pipe and named the car F150LM. Let me know what you think of this very special prototype and check out my online courses in the links below if you want to know more about top-edge car design. Also consider to become a B-Sport Club member to support this channel and make videos like this one possible. If you need customized aero parts for your project, contact me on my homepage and check out my online shop. See you at the next video.